Hi there, welcome to the latest episode of my 10-minute moan. And the topic of this 10-minute moan is a stop press moment. Mhairi Black, the now former MP, has told the truth. Yep, you heard me there. Mhairi Black has told the truth on her way out of the door at Westminster. And the reason she's now an ex-MP is Westminster Parliament got dissolved last night. So, as we speak, there are currently 0 MPs in the United Kingdom. And Mhairi had already declared that she would not be seeking election at the next election. So, she's not going to be an SNP MP anymore. I'm not too clear what she might be doing next, but I'd love to see her stand at Holyrood because I think that would be a shoe-in for whoever stood against her. She should do that in the next 2 years. But anyway, she was on the National. They do a podcast, and she was a guest on that. And she was asked about what was going to happen with independence, with the election coming up, etc. And she admitted, just get the quote, so I'm quoting verbatim, not misquoting her. She was asked about discussions that had been on at the SNP Westminster group, which she was a deputy leader of, asked what discussions had taken place about, the future of independence and referendums and stuff like that. And she said, so me personally, no, I've not heard any particular detail on that. So Mhairi Black, the then deputy group leader at Westminster for SNP, hadn't heard any discussions about any potential referendums, independence, anything like that. She also admitted, although still told a wee bit of a white lie, but she admitted that there is no majority in Scotland for independence. And you need to listen to her words carefully here. She said, the reality is Scotland isn't going to be independent until a majority wants it. That means we don't have a majority just now. When a majority demonstrates that in a very clear fashion, if you support independence, there is one thing that is guaranteed at this election, which is that if the SNP are not sent back in large numbers, independence is going to be off the table for quite some time. Good. You can even hear it in the rhetoric that's been used for the past 5 or 10 years from both Labour and Conservative and even Lib Dem. They have absolutely no interest in even touching the topic of independence. And anyone in Scotland will be able to tell you that, as messy as it might seem, the question is not settled. We still have half the country that wants to have the powers of an independent country. And that's not going to become a reality unless there are MPs arguing for it. That might seem slow and it might seem like you're banging your head against a brick wall, but that is the reality of where Scotland is. Now, as I say, she showed some truth here. She said there's no majority for independence in Scotland at the moment, but then goes to claim that half the people want it. I don't believe that. The latest polls showed 40.6% desire for independence. But having a desire for independence and voting for it's also two different things. We've seen that at the actual referendum, where the polls had them ahead and only 45% voted for it. So if 40% want independence and say in a poll, yeah, it's easy to say. Putting that X in a box at a referendum is an entirely different thing. So having 40% would quite like it doesn't automatically mean 40% would vote for it when they are left with the pressures of a polling booth, a piece of paper, a pencil, and doing that with your future. So I'm quite comfortable with the whole independence argument just now. I don't think it will, I don't really think it should disappear. If some people in Scotland, up to 10% or 20%, want independence, then we should be able to debate it, they should be able to talk about it. But what I desire are MPs at Westminster and MSPs at Holyrood talking about making Scotland better, not making Scotland independent, because we've done that for 17 years and the place is now a shambles. So we keep doing the same thing as we done yesterday, we'll get the exact same result tomorrow. And I don't like where Scotland's been in the last 17 years, and I don't want that tomorrow for Scotland. So there go, I want MPs and MSPs that are not going to try and gerrymander a referendum and play insult politics and blame culture politics through a whole 4 or 5 years of their parliament. I want, particularly the Holyrood Parliament, to have a parliament full of people that say, see this book called Devolution? We're going to take this book, we're going to use every single ounce and every single inch of powers that it gives us. We're going to use it for the benefit of Scotland. What I don't want is what we've had for 17 years, and somebody says, see this book, we want to ignore it, we want to rip it up, we want to put it in the bin, we want to blame Westminster, we want to blame Tories, and they're lining it up to even blame the Labour Party who have not even won an election yet. That's how this country's been governed for the last 17 years. And that is why it is in the state it's in. So, please, if you think like me, please consider doing what I'm going to do come the 4th of July, and that's tactically vote to do as much as possible I can to make sure my constituency does not send an SNP MP to Westminster. And as I've done in another video and spoke about for months now, we could also bankrupt the SNP. And I don't believe it's just unionists that should tactically vote. I also believe nationalists should tactically vote these people out, because the SNP is quite clear with Mhairi Black's words there. She's totally unaware of any policy, any manifesto, any promises whatsoever about how they're going to get independence. And I've already discussed it, and I'll not make any apologies for keep discussing it until somebody asks them the question. John Swinney, the leader of the SNP, has still not told the Scottish people, and more importantly, the nationalists in Scotland, how he sees this election affecting independence. Because Nicola Sturgeon told us we were having a de facto referendum at the next Westminster election, whereby if we voted 50% plus one vote in favour of independence parties, that would give her a mandate for a referendum for independence. Humza changed the rules and made it a wee bit easier, set a lower target. He said that we win the seats, more seats, which would be about 30, than anybody, the majority of seats, then that would give us a mandate to push for a referendum. So both had put out sort of roadmaps on their dreams and their aims and how to get independence, regardless of how ridiculous they were. At least they had a path, a route. John Swinney's not got a single thing in public about how he sees this election affecting in the route to an independent Scotland. He's not done it, but nobody's asked him. He's now had 2 ministerial questions to face since the election was called, and he's had numerous press days where, one day done around with the radio stations, the next day he's doing the TV, the next day he's doing printed press, and he's been doing that for 7 days now, and nobody's asked him, excuse me, Mr. Swinney, Nicola said we're having a de facto referendum. Humza told us that he was going to have a, can't remember the term he used, but a mandate after the referendum to go and get after the election to go and get a referendum. So what's your view on this, Mr. Swinney, leader of the SNP? What's your view on it? Nobody's asked him. I'll keep going on about it and highlighting it until he eventually does come out, because he's no said a word yet. And as I say, we're a week into the campaigning. So if I was a nationalist, I'd be like, how are we getting it? How are you going to make us independent? There are no routes to independence with SNP. That's why I'm saying even the nationalists should be getting them voted out and tactically vote and give the person in your constituency that's got the best chance of beating them your vote. Get them to buggery, get them bankrupt, and let's govern the country. With a group of people, regardless of the colour of the I don't care. I genuinely don't care. People go, how can you vote for that? Or how could you vote for that? I don't see any potential landscape of Holyrood when we eventually get there, because that's my ultimate aim, being worse than an SNP-led government. It's impossible. Some people say, I can't vote for Sarwar. Well, you're not voting for Sarwar. Right now we're dealing with a Westminster election. He's no standing. I can't vote for Keir Starmer. Well, I'll get news for you. probably going to win anyway, regardless of what you do. So if he's going to end up being the next Prime Minister and you don't like him, you're not going to probably affect that, if we're perfectly honest. And at least you're doing something to try and stop the SNP getting a seat down there. And I can't vote, because there are some areas will need to vote Conservative if they want to tactically vote. But that Richie Sunak's a walloper. Well, he's not going to be the Prime Minister. What does it matter? You're not making Richie Sunak Prime Minister by voting for him in Banff, right? Because he ain't going to be the Prime Minister, let's be honest. So that's why I can... And it's easy for me. I'm a swing voter. I tell people this all the time. I've voted Labour, Conservative and Liberal Democrat in the past. So it's easy for me to say I'm tactically voting. I do understand some people have sort of conscientious reasons for maybe not doing it, but it shouldn't stop you. If you enjoyed the video, give me a thumbs up. If you've not already done so, please subscribe. And most importantly of all, see this at the end of all my videos. Unless you're Mhairi Black, the SNP, or any of the remaining cult within it, everybody else have a great day. Cheery bye now.